I sometimes think that it's the reality, the boomerang is the reality. So I think that someone is thinking something negative about me, but in actual fact it's just my thoughts about myself, which I'm chucking boomerang through them and back round to me. If I can't be normal, if I can't be the sporty person I see on the football pitch, scoring loads of goals, if I can't be like that, what's the point in living then? That's where I go to in my head, because I put myself under so much pressure.
All this scrutiny.
All this scrutiny that I'm thinking, you're thinking so many negative things about me, and that all weighs me down. The boomerang, when I catch it back, it's weighing me right down.
So heavy.
Yeah,
it's got so much weight to it, because really it's not just me that's thinking this in your mind.
Yeah.
It's the whole world.
It's the whole world, yeah.
So the weight of it.
Yeah.
Here I am again with John, an ex-client of mine. We spent some time together in a counselling relationship, and there were some common themes that came up during the time that we spent together. That included the mask, which we spoke about last time, and this time we want to speak about the boomerang. I've been doing counselling for about 10 years now, and we're up here in the cabin. Quite a nice environment, John, I think.
Yeah.
And we're going to explore this phrase, the boomerang. So maybe it's best if I explain where I'm coming from when I say this phrase, boomerang. And effectively, I think it's projection, really. So the basis of it is a feeling that we feel towards ourselves. So often the feeling that I feel towards myself is I feel that I'm a useless piece of shit, really. And I often feel that feeling towards myself. And then I think that John and this session will be thinking, Gary's useless, he's a useless piece of shit, he's no good, really. And what I'm doing in that moment is I'm thinking or feeling something about myself. I've got a boomerang in my hand, and I'm throwing that boomerang out to John, and it's going through John and it's coming back to me. And I then believe that John thinks all the things that I think or feel about myself, but they're really my own thoughts and my own feelings, but I somehow convince myself that John thinks and feels those things about me. So I take away all his authority to be his own human being, I rob him of that, and he's basically a carbon copy of me, and he's not allowed to be himself. I think that's what the boomerang does, but we'll also explore how that works in John's life, and we'll both maybe share a couple of stories about where the boomerang is at its most lethal. So John, are you familiar with the boomerang?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, in counselling in the last year, I've sort of said to you a few times, I'm thinking you're thinking a certain thing about me, and you turn around and say you're not. And sort of the introduction, when you sort of said about this concept of a boomerang, it made a lot of sense, because it basically, in my head, I sometimes think that it's the reality, the boomerang is the reality. So I think that someone is thinking something negative about me, but in actual fact it's just my thoughts about myself, which I'm chucking like a boomerang through them and back round to me. And the trouble is with the boomerang really is that I start to interact with people as if they definitely are thinking those things about me. And I treat them as in a negative way because I'm thinking they're thinking negatively about me. But something you highlighted in the last year really is that that's not necessarily the case. They might not be thinking that at all. And actually I'm being quite harsh judging them. You know, I'm judging them thinking they're thinking something horrible, but they're not a horrible person at all. And it's literally just my thoughts about myself.
Do you mind if we use what happened before this session as an initial exploration of the boomerang?
Yeah.
And because it would have been happening already this morning. So before this piece of recording took place, a bit of setting up was required. We're a bit tight for time today.
Yeah.
There was quite a bit of pressure on you.
Yeah.
You were making a number of negative comments about yourself when you were trying to set up.
Was I? Yeah.
And I wondered whether any boomerang kind of stuff was going on when you were setting up all the cameras.
Yeah.
And you appeared to be quite stressed out.
Yeah.
You were sweating a bit. You made
Yeah.
comments about your weight a couple of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But I wondered whether you thought that I was thinking anything particular about you when you were setting up.
Yeah, I think you're thinking I'm a fat moose and that you can't do videography. You're just not a professional person when it comes to camera work. I'm just thinking just generally negative, that you're thinking generally negative things about me, that I'm not able ultimately, because that's what I'm thinking about myself. So, yeah, I mean, I would say today was better because I've sort of learned some of these concepts. I was stopping myself boomeranging in a way. But certainly the last time we were talking, I did feel that quite a bit because it was our first sort of session, setting things up. But yeah, today I was still very body conscious because I've got a weak left side. That doesn't work properly. Basically my whole left side, I went blue when I was young, and yeah, the whole left side that doesn't function properly. So I'm continually aware of my inabilities from that point of view as well. Where my right side can do a lot more, my left side can't. So that always goes through my head, and I'm thinking that you're very aware of that as well. Yeah, that certainly happened this morning to a degree. Yeah.
And did it leave you feeling incapable? Because that was the impression that I was getting from you, that you felt not capable enough or not good enough.
Yeah.
And you were very aware of your left side compared to your right side, and you were probably feeling that whilst you were setting up the limitations of that. And then somehow you believed that I could see that.
Yeah.
I couldn't see that.
Right.
Do you want to know what I was thinking?
I would
or
like
feeling?
to know, yeah, because I genuinely was thinking you're just thinking you sweat, fat, hot mess of a person. You can't do your camera stuff. So yeah, I'd be interested to know what you were thinking. But yeah.
Yeah. So just before you set up, you were sharing a little bit about an event in your life that you were kind of almost like a bit of a paramedic coming to the aid of somebody else in an emergency situation. So as you were setting up, I was thinking, I hope John's okay.
Yeah.
I hope he's okay for today.
Yeah.
I hope he's doing all right.
Yeah. No, that's it.
I'm a bit worried about him.
Yeah.
So nothing really about your left side at all?
No.
Or nothing about kind of how conscious you were of your own body and your own movements and how you felt. I was more worried about you.
You mentioned earlier though that I was stressed. So what sort of, you obviously had that thought in your head.
You put the thought there in my head how you were reacting to yourself.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
So I didn't, when you first came in, I didn't think, oh, John is stressed.
No.
When you first came in, you shared about an event in your life. My initial thought was, I hope John's okay.
Yeah.
I'm a bit worried about him. Then as you were moving around, setting up, you were making some very harsh, critical comments towards yourself.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
And I could see the stress then.
Yeah.
But you were showing me your stress. But it's almost as if, the boomerang is causing you to think that because I saw that it was stressful for you, it would then come with a negative connotation of, oh, John's incapable then, or John's not good enough then, or John's left side's not working enough. What? Because I can see that you're stressed, I'm going to follow it up with those comments.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
No. Yeah. It's.
But that's what you're doing to you.
Yeah.
But why would I, if I saw that you were stressed when you were setting up, because that's what you were describing, that you were in a stressful state, and I saw that stress. Why would I follow it up with, John's incapable, John's got a weak left side, John's a fat moose?
Yeah.
Why? Just because if I could see some stress that you were going through,
Yeah.
that you were showing me that you were stressed,
Yeah.
would I think those things?
Yeah, I don't know why I would think that. I think it's because that is the vein of thought in my head continually. Like certainly when I'm sort of setting up, that was sort of in there. As I say, it was a bit better today, but it's generally there. So I literally think I don't know of any other thoughts that would be going through your head, because I guess I haven't asked you what's going through your head. Now, because I've asked you, that's helped me realise actually it's not the boomerang. It's not what I've thought. It's what, you've come up with something completely different and something a lot more caring.
Do you believe me?
I do believe you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, having done, got to know you and things, I believe you. I think initially I would doubt that. To be honest, there is a small element of me that doesn't believe you. But and certainly earlier in our counselling sessions a few months ago, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But generally speaking, it is just that I don't like myself. I think that is a big factor, and it's partly because I am overweight ultimately, and I realise that is a big issue. And some people watching this might be thinking, my boomerang to them would be that they're thinking, well, just lose some weight then, mate, and you'll feel a lot better about yourself. And I get that. I need to lose some weight, and I completely appreciate that. I've gone up and down and things like that, but it's tough. I use the boomerang far too much, and the trouble is it then makes me lock up. So the creative element of like filming and stuff like that, it locks me down if I'm thinking that about you.
But it is the way, and I think you kind of alluded to it a moment ago, it is the way to challenge the boomerang, to ask someone directly, well, what are you thinking? So if we take what you've just said about your weight, if you said to me directly, well, Gary, what are you thinking about my weight? Would that challenge the boomerang?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, I think the only problem is there's an element of fear in what if you reinforce my boomerang by saying what I think about myself, because that can happen, can't it?
Yeah, like, and tell me what's scary about that if you're already thinking it about yourself anyway, and somebody else confirms it.
Then it just makes me feel depressed, and it sort of sets me in a bit of a downward spiral mentally, I guess. Like, okay, stuff it all. Then if Gary thinks that, then he's thinking what I'm thinking, so I must be, there's no hope for me really. It's where my head goes from a mental health point of view.
Like if you follow that thought through, you're needing people to rescue you all the time. So if you think a particularly negative thought about yourself, if I also think that negative thought about you and confirm that to you, you're left in a position of shove it anyway, then that's it for me, then that's no good. But if you think a negative thought about yourself and I don't think that effectively kind of rescues you in some way, does it?
It pulls you out. I mean, when you told me that in counselling, when we first had our session and you said, well, you're boomeranging there, I'm like, it was such a revelation, because I was like, flipping heck, the situation I was discussing with you a few months ago wasn't actually an issue. So it was actually about filming for someone else, and how they're a lot more well built than I am, and I was just thinking that I'm just that they think I'm a complete joke of a videographer and things like that. So and when you turn around and said, well, actually, they might not be thinking that, and you're judging them and you're being a bit harsh to them, it was like quite a light bulb moment really, because I just have never thought of that is the case. What I've thought in my head is my reality, to be honest, and that's how I relate to you. If I think you're thinking a bad thought, that's how I'll relate to you.
But what you're thinking doesn't necessarily mean it's real.
No,
or it's the truth. So if you think that I'm thinking about your weight, and in that moment I'm not even thinking about your weight, then your thought is not the reality of what's happening in terms of my thoughts. Is it?
No, that's it.
So if you think Gary's thinking right now I'm fat and I'm not thinking that, then what's your thought? Is it your thought is wrong in that moment? So your thoughts aren't always right. Just because they're thoughts, it doesn't mean they're right.
No. And I guess that's where I've gone wrong, because a lot of the time my thoughts about you are right. That's just been...
You've made up your mind.
I've made up my mind.
They're right. Your thoughts are right.
And it applies to different areas of life as well, doesn't it? Not just filming and things. It happens to us all. Like I think you raised the topic of anorexic people thinking in this way. They're boomeranging a thought through someone else that they're fat, whereas actually the reality is they're thin, and the other person is thinking they're dead thin and they need to eat something. It's interesting, isn't it, that we fabricate what other people think, and we just come up with this whole story in our head about what someone else is thinking when it's not even true. It's not reality.
Yeah, and I think so we're fabricating a lot, as you say, and I think a lot of the time life has taught me that other people aren't even thinking about us. So I think, like, if you allow me to be rude to you, but also rude to me and rude to the rest of humanity, I think we're a bit self-obsessed.
Yeah.
So I'm sat here thinking that you're thinking certain negative thoughts about me.
Yeah.
But actually you're not. You're thinking negative thoughts about yourself. So I'm obsessed with myself that you're thinking about me.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm obsessed with Gary, that you're thinking things about Gary. You're obsessed with John, thinking that I'm thinking things about John.
Yeah.
There's like a certain self-obsession about it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Like the world orientates just around me.
I was going to say that. Yeah, like the whole world revolves around me. Is my outlook fundamentally. But I mean, ultimately, I like to hope that over time I've learned to think about others a bit more than. But I mean, take a 3-year-old kid. I've got a 3-year-old son, and he's incredibly self-absorbed. I come in from a horrendous day at work, or I've just injured myself or hurt myself. My 3-year-old is just non-aware.
The world revolves around him.
The world revolves around him, and I think that is in us all. We mature slightly in that area. But we're just obsessed with ourselves, and the world doesn't revolve around us. It's about helping other people. I often think not people are 90% more interested in themselves and 10% interested in me. That's sort of something I've learned over time. I know that, but fundamentally, I still function as if I'm the be end all of the world.
Especially if you're thinking negatively. Then you believe, even though you think people are only thinking of you 10% of the time.
Yeah.
If you're thinking negatively, you're then believing that I'm thinking negatively towards you, even though I might only think of you 10% of the time. You forget about the other 90%.
Yeah.
Like that's not even on your radar at that point. You're just thinking that I'm thinking that you're a fat moose.
Yeah.
But at the time you started talking about your weight in this session, what was I thinking about?
You.
Yeah, I was thinking about my own weight.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. I was thinking about my own weight.
Fascinating. Yeah. Whereas I've got a lot more weight than you, so I'm again, even now I'm self-obsessing about me. The fact you said that you obsessed, you thought about your weight, I just sort of brush it off and think, why you think about your weight, mate?
Yeah, and in this moment that you're thinking about your weight, I'm thinking still about my weight. I'm not thinking about you, even though you're bringing it back to you and saying that I'm bigger than you, Gary, which is a real truthful fact.
Yeah,
I'm still thinking about my weight.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about your weight.
No, yeah.
I'm thinking about how I look in the mirror and I don't like it. I'm thinking like I could do with a 6-pack. I remember in a very vulnerable session we had, you said, but you're not overweight, Gary. You're not fat.
Oh yeah.
And then I lifted up my t-shirt to show you my belly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I turned sideways or something,
did,
but I could see that you were surprised.
Yeah, I was.
That I had a
bit,
bigger belly than you thought I had.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you joined my world.
Yeah, I did.
You were able to see it.
And I instantly, by you sort of being more vulnerable, I instantly felt better to a degree because from a selfish point of view, and I appreciated your vulnerability at the same time because it helped break something in me that, okay, we're all in this together type thing, and I think we went on to discuss food and things and how it's not just me. Who struggles with food. It's you have your own issues with food too, even as a thin person, and I do see you as a thin person, even though you don't see yourself as a thin person. I see you as a thin person.
But do you think it's to do with self-obsession that the boomerang exists because we're obsessing about ourselves,
Yeah.
often negatively,
Yeah.
and then we think that everybody else is thinking those things about us.
Yeah. I mean, it's partly hard to get out of our own skin, isn't it? Because we live in our own skin, and we do see the world revolve around us ultimately. So we're constantly sort of programmed to think about the world moving around us.
Yeah.
We're in our own body. Like, I'm not in your body, I'm in mine. So,
Yeah.
and I can't swap to your body, for instance.
Yeah.
So there is a sort of an innate sort of like, the world does revolve around me because I'm experiencing the world in my body. It's just a very sort of selfish sort of stance, isn't it, to just continually be thinking.
I think it's all right. I think it's all right for you to sit here, and say, Gary, I experience myself, as fat. I experience myself as a fat moose. I experience myself as having a weak left side.
Yeah.
I experience myself negatively. I don't like these things about myself. And it's all right for me to sit here and say, I don't like my ears.
Yeah.
I don't like parts of my body. I don't like my stomach. And I don't think that's necessarily selfish. I think that's the reality. That's vulnerable. It's honest. It's real. I think the self-obsessed part starts coming when we think that other people are always thinking about us.
Yeah.
So if you experience yourself as fat, and that's the way you see yourself, and that's how you relate to yourself, that I think that's all okay. Like, it's not probably going to do you any favours in your self-esteem, but that's your reality. And if I think all these negative, like, I'm a useless piece of shit, which I said at the beginning, if I think that about myself, that's okay. But what's not okay, I think, is to think that you think that about me, or for you to think that I think those things about you. That's the bit where you cross the line.
So almost we need to
cross a line.
We need to be self-aware, don't we? Really, when I'm setting up cameras next time, for instance, what I could do is sort of say in my head, right, I'm going to feel sweaty, I'm going to feel fat, I'm going to feel incapable, but I'm going to park my thoughts as my own. I'm going to keep them. I'm going to box them up.
Yeah, they're
and
your
I'm going to
thoughts.
let Gary think his own things, and I'm going to think more positively. I'm going to choose to think that Gary's being more positive about me, so that frees me up, and then I'm not feeling so much pressure. But I'm equally acknowledging that I
your
feel
own
that
thoughts.
about myself.
Don't dismiss your own thoughts or feelings, because then you move into unreality or denial.
Because we're then going to denial, don't we? You're completely right.
And it's okay for you to, when you were setting up, it would be more than okay as you were moving around setting up, saying, Gary, I feel like a fat moose.
Yeah.
Gary, I'm sweating out here. Gary, I feel incapable. Gary, I'm a crap videographer. Gary, I can't do this. I compare myself to others all the time. So you don't have to box it up. You can verbalise all of that.
Yeah.
You can let that all out. You can be vulnerable and real.
Yeah.
But at the same time, know that I'm not thinking those things about you. I'm probably self-obsessing about how I look on the camera.
Yeah.
Or what client I've got coming in next, or what am I doing with my children later. I'm not thinking those negative things about you.
And you saying that sort of alleviates a huge amount of pressure in my head, because I put myself under so much pressure.
All this scrutiny.
All this scrutiny that I'm thinking, you're thinking so many negative things about me, and that all weighs me down. The boomerang, when I catch it back, it's weighing me right down.
So heavy. It's got so much weight to it. Because really, it's not just me that's thinking this in your mind.
Yeah.
It's the whole world.
It's the whole world,
So the weight of it.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks I'm this. And you've got the weight of this boomerang.
And I go to the point where, well, what's the point in living then? Even just something as simple as setting up like camera equipment. If I can't be normal, if I can't be the sporty person I see on the football pitch, scoring loads of goals, if I can't be like that, what's the point in living then? That's where I go to in my head. Obviously, I've never fulfilled that, but I have gone there in my head, because growing up, going to school, I was always the last picked in the football team. So you do sometimes think, okay, maybe the boomerang is true then, if I'm the last to be picked.
So you think that you believe the whole world rejects you based on some of your childhood experiences of not being picked first in the football team.
Yeah.
Other events that have happened in your life where you've been picked last, or you felt this rejection. So now you believe the entire world is obsessing about John and thinking how bad or how awful he is, and they're not really thinking about you.
No, that's it.
I really don't think they are, because how often are you thinking about me? Apart from thinking that I'm thinking negative things about you, how often are you actually thinking about me?
Not much. It's a shame to say. Really.
No, but it's the truth. It's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because we're all self-obsessed. I guess I stereotype, don't I? Like I'm stereotyping. Like that boomerang, you sort of throw it around the whole world, really, and you stereotype the whole world, paint everyone with the same brush.
Well, you just pick football, because I'm not a good footballer, the whole world's going to reject me. Yeah. Some people hate football.
Yeah, that's it.
They're not going to reject you.
Yeah. So why am I obsessing over the few boys that did pick me last? Why does that apply to everyone else? It doesn't. It's just that particular situation. They picked me last. Fair enough. But
and sometimes you've got to take that on the chin, because maybe you're not very good at football, and sometimes it's okay to acknowledge that, and other people will be playing football with you and see that you're not as good, so you'll be picked last. Yeah. But if it was out of you and me, who was going to be picked to do some videography, and people knew both of our histories, who are they going to pick?
Yeah, me.
So am I now going to believe that the whole world is against me and I might as well go and kill myself?
Yeah, that would be stupid, wouldn't it, when you put it like that? Yeah. I think it reminds me of something we brought up about putting ducks up on the wall, actually. I put up a load of bad ducks on the wall, and I, the duck of sport goes up there. The duck of, not being fast in a race goes up there. Like sports day, even as an adult now, freaks me out. Like I mean, it's nice seeing my son race, but I'm literally freaking out over the fact that I might have to do the parents' race or the dad's race. It still freaks me out. So, the duck of sport is a massive one for me. I put that up on the wall, and I say I'm not good at that.
And you pedestal it.
And I pedestal it. I put the duck of food up there. I'm not. I can't get myself in gear in terms of my weight, and I overeat and things like that. And I'm not sporty, so those two things put together equal one massive duck of being quite fat. I put all the negative ducks up there quite a lot. And I know what you said in the previous session is that that I need to choose some good ducks. Like, what are the good ducks I can put up there? And that's basically what you were saying there. I could choose a good duck of videography. I'm better at you at videography. So
and maybe acknowledge that other people have a different set of ducks too.
Yeah.
And we can always make ourselves lose, can't we?
Yeah, we can indeed. Yeah.
But why are we doing that? Why? Okay. We must. We must bring it to an end. But we can always make ourselves lose.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
And like the big question, like, why are you doing that? Why are you making yourself lose?
Yeah.
Why are you so against yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. It's fascinating. So really, it's turning off the negative self voice in my head about you, and just relaxing a bit more, and knowing that actually I'm good at some things. I don't have to be good at everything.
Yeah, and allowing that truth to be there. So move around the room in an incapable way because of your left side.
Yeah.
Know that that's a truth.
Yeah.
Let it be there.
Yeah.
I'm not obsessing about your left side. You are.
Yeah.
But it's okay for you to be obsessing about your left side. It's caused you a lot of difficulties in your life.
Yeah.
But there are other things that you're good at.
Yeah.
That I'm not very good at.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay for me too.
Yeah.
And maybe it's okay for me to feel sometimes that I'm a useless piece of shit, but it doesn't mean that that's what you're thinking, that you're thinking that about me.
Yeah.
I mean, are you?
No. So.
But I don't believe you.
No. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. And we just need to love ourselves more, don't we? Really, right? And just not have the pressure of whatever anyone else is thinking about us. So, yeah. Thanks very much, Gary. I appreciate that. So,
yeah, good to see you, John.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, take care.